Peter Anthony letting agents, in their attempts to portray me as some kind of tenant from hell, posted the most defamatory and grossly misleading statements on a review site, including a viciously false accusation that I was aggressive towards their contractors. These matters will not be taken lightly. They come out, they say what they like, they allow you no defence, and then retreat behind their frustrating wall of total non-communication. And I'm supposed to lie down and accept this. Well, all I can say to Peter Anthony letting agents is welcome to part 2. And in this session, we're going to look at the false statements they made in their attempts to have my first video taken down. When part 1 of my video went live, Peter Anthony letting agents, again avoiding all issues raised, decided instead to make a trademark complaint, insisting that the video highlighting my negative experiences with their company be removed immediately. A 48-hour window is allowed in order to resolve issues of trademark disputes, and I duly complied with all procedures and put forward my case. But Peter Anthony letting agents totally refused to communicate with me, even regarding their own complaint. Towards the end of the deadline, they again ignored a further request to cooperate with procedures. They essentially left the situation in a state of limbo. In the meantime, the property mentioned in the first video had been sold, currently subject to contract, and this could mean new landlords, and I didn't want any confusion between any new landlords and my ex-landlords. Now, although Google raised no issues against me of breaking community rules, I nevertheless decided, while updating the video, to remove a shot of a van that was parked outside the building. There was a broken sign in the garden, anything that Peter Anthony letting agents might have been using to make this fuss about. The video was then uploaded with the essential and vital updates regarding the current status of the property. Peter Anthony estate agents were not content to just make a complaint and refuse to engage in any resolution. They decided to embellish their complaint by making false statements that I had requested permissions from them in the making of my video. Now, I don't know how naive Peter Anthony letting agents believe me to be to ever imagine that their blatant false claims would not be challenged, and as they totally refuse to respond, I'll present them here in my defence, together with the irrefutable documentation revealing their utter falseness. When Peter Anthony letting agents were informed that these matters were to be publicised, they were to become obsessed with permissions. In regard to their failure to fulfil their legal obligations under Section 1 of the Landlord-Tenant Act 1985, they responded in the following manner. I do not give permission for you to use my name in any way, shape or form which may be documented in film, writing, on any form of media, including social media. Of course, I had absolutely no intentions of naming individual members of staff, except where there's a possibility of misidentification, and I made that quite clear. And more important, in the context here of permissions, I also made that situation perfectly clear. I should clarify that any permissions from you are neither sought nor required. However, the very next day, Peter Anthony estate agents again laboured on permissions. They stated that I did not have their permission to tell anyone about my negative experiences with this company, including the loss of my home of 7 years, via a documentary. In law, their permission is most certainly not required. That's not quite the way it works. And as his letting agent had previously been completely wrong on the legal status of Section 1 of the Landlord-Tenant Act 1985, I suggested that they might like to seek legal advice on this particular matter. As you continue to refer to permissions, I can only suggest that you pass these communications to your legal representatives, who may be better able to deal with issues you are clearly unfamiliar with. A documented record, as Peter Anthony knew very well, was perfectly clear. I have never approached them for any permissions in any matter, and I would never do so unless it was explicitly required by law. But this letting agent wanted that video removed. So with a total disregard of the truth, Peter Anthony's estate agents created a totally false scenario in order to rationalise their complaint of a trademark infringement. That I had specifically requested permission to use not only their business name but also their company logo in the making of my video. That they had explicitly denied in writing this so-called requested permission. that I nevertheless disregarded this explicit denial of this so-called permission and used them anyway. Gosh, I'm a naughty boy. I'm just going to go and sit on the naughty step. I live in the Stockport, Manchester area and have friends, colleagues who occasionally seek rented accommodation. And it's important that they and others are aware of just how far this particular company will go to publicly attack an ex-tenant's integrity and character for doing nothing more than daring to stand up to them. On advice from Shelter, with a third-party witness, the whole cleaning and inspection processes were filmed for my own protection. You will see and hear Peter Anthony letting agents standing aside, refusing to do a leave-in inspection of the property, despite informing me that it would take place. They would later, in a public statement, accuse me of leaving the place in a mess.